We got a new wacky poll to share with you. This one is from CBS News and YouGov, and it's asking Republican voters about the 2024 Republican candidate, who they prefer. This is some really astonishing stuff, man. So the number one issue here, according to this poll, 85% of Republican voters say they would like a candidate who, quote, challenges woke ideas. 85%. Wow. Now, by the way, you would think that that favors DeSantis, because that's his whole branding is like, I'm the guy who fights wokeness. But also, Trump sort of does that branding too, and obviously he's leading DeSantis by double digits right now, so I could cut either way, to be honest. Opposes any gun restrictions, 66%. Any gun restrictions. That's astonishing, man. Now, by the way, that is extra astonishing because a Fox News poll just came out, which basically had numbers that are through the roof for all sorts of specific gun reforms. So, for example, universal background checks was like 87%. Even banning assault weapons was 80%. It's the highest number I've ever seen on that one. So there's a weird breakdown here. It's like, why do some polls have it so that every single gun reform is very popular? And then this random one has it where 66% of Republican voters oppose any gun restrictions. I mean, look, it really does go to show you that old saying, there's lies, damned lies, in statistics. It's kind of true, right? Because my guess is they use the word restrictions here. And that probably made people like, yeah, I don't want the gun restrictions, man. But if you use the phrase gun reform, they probably would have been like, yeah, I'm okay with some gun reform. You know what I mean? So, I mean, that's the only way I can square the circle of polling that is like totally opposite on the exact same issue within the same week. So anyway, then they also say 61% want a Republican candidate who says Trump won in 2020. There's definitely one guy who's saying that. Yeah, by the way, that's going to hurt him in the general election, but they're sticking to their guns, man. And then you have 57% want a Republican who makes liberals angry. Triggering the libs, baby. That's what it's all about. They base a whole ideology and philosophy around it. That's the core of their ideology and their philosophy. And by the way, I don't think this is mirrored on the Democratic side. On the Democratic side, you get numbers like 57% when they say stuff like, should they work in a bipartisan way? And most Democratic voters are like, yes, I love bipartisanship, yeah. And meanwhile, on the Republican side, they're like, you should piss in the eye socket of my opponent. Like, this is how they think about it. So these are some really devastating numbers. It really goes to show you how the Republican voting base, the primary voters, really have self-disenfranchised and self-radicalized and now made it so that it is harder for them to win a general election. Because they just, every normie, every independent, every moderate is like, you guys are a little too weird, man. You guys are a little too out there. And we've seen it in the last 3 elections. Now, by the way, somebody else responded to this tweet with some more numbers from this poll. It's pretty interesting. So we'll go through this one. Do they want a Republican candidate who makes liberals angry? 57% yes. Challenges woke ideas? 85% yes. Supports U.S. aid to Ukraine? 42% say yes. 58% say no. So a slight majority of the Republican base is against aid to Ukraine. Opposes any gun restrictions? 66% yes. This one is fascinating, man. Do you want a candidate who favors a national abortion ban? 51% yes, 49% no. Guys, I can't stress this enough. This is of the Republican primary voters. This is among likely Republican voters. And only half of them want a national abortion ban. In other words, this issue is not nearly what the pro-life people think it is. It's actually a very, very divisive issue because if you ask independents, if you ask moderates, if you ask Democrats, they're going to say they're pro-choice. So if you have only half of the Republican base, the most dedicated voters, are in favor of an abortion ban, that's not good on that issue. That issue is a loser, and we learned that in the midterms too. This one's amazing. Do you want a Republican candidate who would cut spending on Social Security? Only 25% say yes, 75% say no. That definitely cuts in the pro-Trump direction. It definitely does. Well, actually, he's the only Republican candidate who's like loudly and aggressively against cutting those programs. Says Trump won the 2020 election, 61% say yes. Favors Christians over other religious groups, 44% say yes, 56% say no. I'm actually surprised that the Republican base is still somewhat, multicultural when it comes to other religions. They are somewhat more tolerant than I'd expect. I'd expect like 60% to say yes, favor Christians over other religions. But anyway, these are some really, really astonishing numbers, man. There's no way around it. They really have radicalized. It's going to hurt them in the general election, but it really is good insight into the mind of your average Republican primary voter. And honestly, they're sort of just as extreme as you would expect. All right, guys, that's the show. As always, I love y'all very much. You know the drill. Do me a big favor. Click like, click subscribe. Let's try to get to that next plaque, dog. 10 million subscribers. Oh, by the way, I will reveal or unveil my 1 million plaque very shortly. We indeed have it. I can verify that we have it. It will be hung up eventually. It should be in view of you when you're watching the show. We're going to hang it up in here at some point. So it's pretty cool. I'm very excited for it. And thank you guys for getting me over that hump. I really, really appreciate it. It means the world to me. It felt like for a while we were never going to get there. And then randomly it just started taking off one day. Almost felt like the algorithm was tweaked just a touch and it gave us a little bit of help. So anyway, now let's try to get that 10 million plaque. Click the subscribe button below. Like I said, like the video. Click that bell icon so you get a notification every time a video drops. Remember, you guys can listen to the full audio version of the podcast over on Spotify if you'd like to. Some people prefer that now over going video for video on YouTube. And yeah, that's all I got for you. Much love to all the Patreon supporters of this show. Much love to everybody who tips on YouTube. There's a thanks button below. You can tip using that if you'd like. Remember, never talk to advertisers. Never will. You guys, make this show work. I really, really appreciate it. And what else I got for you? I think that's it, man. I think that's all I got. So everybody, enjoy the rest of your day. I love you, baby. Peace. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.